So I'm a little atypical. I work as a software engineer at Airbnb on something completely unrelated to crypto, but I've gotten more and more into the community just because the projects are so compelling and it could potentially be, a world-changing tech. So my interest kept growing. I've been working on several projects with non-fungible tokens recently, primarily ETHBuenosAires. We want it to be the gravatar for Ethereum. But really, in the process of me working on that project and a couple other side projects, I've kind of gotten to know more of the development ecosystem in the Ethereum space. And that's actually why how I stumbled upon OpenZeppelin, is because I realized that the ecosystem is lacking a lot of the developer tools. And OpenZeppelin was actually filling that gap with a lot of really high quality development tools and fundamentals. So ETHBuenosAires somehow got probably the best people in the industry to come here. And so these are the people that really want to be here. It's not an easy journey. It's an 18-hour plane flight from basically anywhere in the world. So you have a collection of people who really care about the space, who are working on really cool, prominent projects in the Ethereum ecosystem, and who are genuinely here to come hack or help others and mentor. So everyone here has really good intentions with really high capabilities. So the Ethereum community has always been very welcoming and very open. I'm very impressed with just how much people are willing to help one another. And so you have projects who, quote unquote, are competing, and yet they're really helping each other because this space is so new that as you're being a pioneer, we're not going to get to where we want to go by competing. We're only going to get there by helping one another. And so as the community has been growing, you're seeing a lot of these really creative projects utilizing other projects. And so once again, it's like a very collaborative experience where you see people using other projects and kind of contributing more to the open source community. So I think the main challenges are that there aren't that many applications that are being used right now. Like all of us really believe deeply in the impact of the tech, but if you look at the actual usage, there aren't that many apps that have real users other than developers and hardcore fanatics. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think blockchain as a whole is still pretty immature tech, and so you're seeing high latencies, for example, per transaction. You're having high fees per transaction, and it's a huge deterrent for people because not only do they have to on-ramp into the crypto ecosystem by going to Coinbase or Kraken or whatever other fiat to crypto on-ramp out there, but then they also have to go to your dApp or app, change their currency into possibly your currency. That's another friction. And then they're faced with high latencies and high transaction fees. So right now, for a regular user, there's just a lot of friction to get onboarded. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges, is that there's no tool out there right now and no real app out there right now that's completely user-friendly. CryptoKitties is actually probably one of the closest projects I've gotten there. But even CryptoKitties, the first thing that you need to do is, once again, you have to go from fiat to crypto. You have to use MetaMask, which is extremely unintuitive for a lot of new-time users. So yeah, I think the main challenge is really is that we need to have a better user experience. That's a pretty big question. I think crypto is very binary. I think a lot of people believe that it's either going to take over the world and we're going to see a lot of our payment systems be completely incorporated in blockchain technology, or it's going to just go away and the bubble is going to burst, the hype is going to die down, people are going to realize, oh, this cryptocurrency is not really backed by anything, and exit the system. So I think that the future is actually extremely binary, is that either it's going to take over the world or it's going to die away. Which I think is kind of exciting because right now it's so early that I think the outcome might be so huge that it makes sense to take the risk and participate. The development ecosystem in Ethereum right now, even though it's largely advanced in comparison to other blockchains, it's still very immature. We have some of the popular development tools like MetaMask or Truffle and a couple others. yes, they exist, and I'm very grateful that they exist, but they're still very immature, and there's a lot of problems with them. But I'm very optimistic with the direction we're going, and especially with OpenZeppelin, simply because they really care about driving the development ecosystem and providing high-quality examples and code and fundamentals to a developer that's coming into the system. I use OpenZeppelin in almost everything, every single Ethereum project that I've used, and it just makes so much sense. So part of the reason is OpenZeppelin implemented a lot of the open standards out there, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you make an ERC 721 or an ERC 20 contract. You can rely on implemented code that has been battle tested by so many other apps, that has been written by a team that's been auditing one of the world's most complicated audits. So you have kind of a guarantee that the code that you're using is stable and battle tested and kind of foolproof. And it really speeds up your development because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can focus exactly on what your project is all about. I do recommend OpenZeppelin. I've done a lot of workshops on how to write dApps, primarily in NFTs, and in every single workshop that I've done, I've demonstrated to use OpenZeppelin. And once again, especially for beginners, it makes complete sense because they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They have to understand what they're implementing, but they can focus straight to the actual logic of their dApp without distracting themselves with implementation details. I am planning to use ZeppelinOS. 2 reasons. One, I'm a big fan of Zeppelin in general, so of course I'm going to use it. But it also makes sense. So basically, for those who don't know, ZeppelinOS aims to have an ecosystem of upgradable code. So if you've ever written an app using OpenZeppelin, you would probably use something like Safe Math or Ownable or any of the implementations out there. And when the standards update and when new code comes out for those implementations, you can't actually modify your already deployed code because it's immutable on the blockchain. So with OpenZeppelin, you can actually use the same libraries from OpenZeppelin that you've been using before, but you can guarantee that if they update, you have the most up-to-date code as well.